Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with another video, and as you guys can tell from the title, this one's a bit of a more of a conversational type video where I'm going to be talking about a few of the things that I've noticed over my time playing Genshin Impact, which has been pretty much from day one. Didn't play in the beta, but from day one of Genshin Impact to about right now, which is the 1 year anniversary. What I've noticed that has been kind of leading to the downfall of Genshin Impact as a whole in terms of game design. And so I've got a few things here. This is a bit of an unscripted video as well, so I do apologize if it sounds a bit whack, but I digress. I've got a few points here that I'm going to talk about, and so let's start off with some early game stuff. Now, from here on out, what I'm going to say is pretty much only applicable to people who've been playing the game for a while. If you're a new player, then the game's going to be absolutely phenomenal for you. You're going to have 50 to 100 plus hours of gameplay. But first point, and something that I noticed very early on, was when they released the portable waypoint, the portable cooking stove, and all that stuff, the portable stuff that you can craft. And the main thing was the portable waypoints. Now, this is not a big issue in terms of like in the greater scope, but when you break it down, it can cause quite a few kind of speculative thoughts on what are they doing, like what's the go here. And before they added the portable waypoint, people were complaining that certain waypoints were in very weird positions, and this is specifically in regards to Andreas, the weekly boss. And I was one of the guys who was complaining about that because it was kind of weird that the rest of the weekly bosses were in a domain and that you could teleport them very easily, but Andreas, he was in the most obscure location on top of a hill, and not a single waypoint was near him. And the ones that were near him were either at the bottom of the hill, you know, like a 2-minute walk away, over a mountain, all these different things. So it was weird. And the community complained about that, just to add a waypoint in front of him. Just, it makes sense to have a waypoint there. I don't know why they wouldn't do it. And then MiHoYo announced that they were adding a portable waypoint, which I was like, okay, cool. So they don't want to add a waypoint, but they want to give us a chance of adding a waypoint there if we want a waypoint there. And so I was excited about that. They were adding a waypoint craftable. You can put it down wherever you want in the world. That's pretty cool. They add the item, and I go in, I craft the item, and I place it down. And then you're greeted with the item has a duration, and it's a one-time use. So on top of you having to craft the item, and then it has a 7-day duration, you then also have to craft it 1 week later, again, to place it in the same location. Now, for a person who only plays this game, who no-lifes this game, grabs all the resources every single week, exhausts all their mining spots every single day, or every 3 days, sorry, that's probably not an issue. You probably have like 3 billion resources of everything. But for people who play the game not to that level, and I'm not saying that people who play the game in a very chill way, I play the game quite seriously. I play the game pretty much every day. I don't have that much resources. I'm not going to farm iron, whatever, every single day. And so this was just kind of a weird kind of thing that they're doing. And once you look at it on like a base level, it doesn't really mean much. But when you try to break it down, it's more of a... They're trying to get you to play the game more and more for like very little reason. And I'm not saying killing Andreas is nothing or whatever. But what I mean is, they're making such a simple task take so long, in a sense. Like, I just want to teleport to the boss, kill him, and leave. I don't want to have to craft a teleporter, place the teleporter, make sure it works or whatever, and then go kill the boss. And I don't want to have to do an extra 2 to 3 steps every week for just one boss, when I could do, when with the other bosses, it's just a 2-step process of teleport, kill. Whilst this one, it's craft teleporter, place teleporter to the killer, kill boss, whatever. You know, so that's just one of the things that I've noticed, and that was one of the early ones. Moving on to the next point that I have. So this one is, I have to explain a bit more, but what I've written down is not sticking with a theme. Now, what I mean by this in just 100% what I actually mean by it is with the banners. So, pretty much from what I can tell, there's not been a single bit of theme with the release of banners, new banners, and rerun banners. And that makes sense, especially when you're in the early stages of the game when reruns aren't a thing. But if we jump over onto the Genshin Impact Wiki, which I'm just on here, you guys aren't going to be able to see it, but I'm just on the Genshin Impact Wiki here just to show the wish history or the banner history. And obviously for the initial launch of the game, you're not going to have any reruns, so you're just going to be having new characters. So you're going to have Venti, Klee, Tartaglia, Zhongli, Albedo, Ganyu, Xiao, Keqing, Hu Tao, right? And so that's when the reruns start. So after Hu Tao, the reruns began. And after that, you have Venti, Tartaglia, Zhongli, right? 3 reruns in a row, and then Eula, and then a clear rerun, Kazuha, Ayaka, Yoimiya, Baal, Kokomi. So why did we move away from this weird thing of not rerunning characters when we should have? Because in my opinion, they could have done the Venti rerun, Tartaglia rerun, Zhongli rerun, then 3 new banners, which would have been Eula, Eula, Kazuha, and then I guess Ayaka was the release of 2.0, so that would have been a bit difficult. But they could have formulated a theme here. Maybe they didn't do 3 reruns in a row, so they could have had Venti, Tartaglia, then Eula, Kazuha, then Ayaka, Yoimiya, and then into 2 more reruns, and then into Baal, Kokomi, or something like that. This is another thing that I find an issue with in some games, but it's also a thing in Genshin Impact, that most things don't have a theme. They don't stick to a certain linear theme that's predictable, but still moderately exciting. You know, because like obviously predictability can ruin a game's excitement, but when it's with something like a banner where you have to roll, where it's the gacha system that isn't predictable, that's kind of not good. Like when you don't know what characters are going to come out, when you don't know anything about them, when you don't know when or what. Because currently we know there's, like as of current 2.1, we know that Kokomi is in about a few hours, or 12 hours of now recording, but we don't know the 2 next banners in any way, shape, or form. I feel that 3 weeks before the release of a banner, we should know that it's either a rerun or a new character. At least that's the minimum. That's the bare minimum. We should know 3 weeks before the banner is released if it's a rerun or if it's a new character. And then at the bare minimum, give us the 4 stars so we can then decide just purely on the 4 stars if we want to roll or something like that. Give us a bit. Give us something. Especially when it comes to if it's a rerun or if it's a new. That's the biggest one for me. But this point here is a kind of like a mediocre one. I don't really have much of a problem with this one, but just it's the constant thing of not sticking with a theme that drives me up the wall. Because like, why, if you make a theme, people know what to expect and they can plan themselves accordingly. That's just my point here. People want to plan themselves accordingly, and when there's no theme, people don't know what to do. Now, the third point. This one is a bit more on the cosmetic side in a sense, because it involves the teapot, but it involves a kind of main game function, which is the gardening system, which can help you harvest resources. And also, this is quite a recent one because this was released in 2.1. Sorry, 2.0. My bad. But here we go. Now, when the gardening system was announced, I was actually really excited. Again, another system that I was super excited for, but then in the end, ultimately disappointed. And here's why I was excited for it. I was imagining the system under the assumption that you could harvest fields of resources, which kind of makes sense when you implement a gardening system. You can harvest fields and fields of resources, which, you know, sounds pretty amazing, but also you realize that, oh yeah, you could get too much of one resource. And yeah, that makes sense. But with the way they implemented, where you have to have that certain item as your equipable item, I can't remember, it's like the seed harvester or whatever, you having to have that item, and then you need to go into the open world, harvest the resources, get the seeds, and then you have to plant them, wait 3 days, and then after that you have to go back into the open world. With that whole procedure being how you have to do it, it would have been fine to have 100 million fields of whatever seed you want, because the whole process would have involved you have to go into the open world, farm whatever you want. If you want, let's say, Naku weeds, you have to farm the Naku weeds, which you can only like get maybe, let's say, 100 plus or so a day, or rather, every 3 days. And then you'd have to go into the teapot, make sure you have that many plots of the right type, plant them, which takes like a few minutes. After you plant them, you wait 3 weeks, 3 days, sorry, not 3 weeks, 3 days, and then you harvest them from your teapot. Then you have to repeat that whole process of going back into the open world. Let's say you want to do it with a different resource now because you've got a massive influx of Naku weeds. You want to do it with Dendrobium. Well, Dendrobium is in a different plot. You need to buy all the different plots, you know, put them all down, plant them. It's a procedure. It's a massive procedure that should have been rewarding, but MiHoYo made it moderately redundant for no reason. I don't know if this is just a personal problem, but I feel like if the players themselves could harvest mass amounts of things from their teapot, they would actually use it. Like, everyone would be using the teapot, like gardening system, if they could just garden like hundreds of plants at once, not just 7 or like 8 or like however, like you can have 2 plots of each, and there's 3 plots, 2 times 8 times 3, which is 24. You can harvest 24 plants every 3 days. Who needs 24 bonus plants every 3 days? And because it's 8 unique or 3 unique ones, so you can have only 8 of each different plant. Who needs 8 Naku weed every 3 days? 8 bonus. Who needs 8 bonus Naku weed every 3 days? It's ridiculous that they thought adding this like completely constrained gardening system was gonna do anything for them. No one's using it, and if they are, they're the people who was trying to get like 999,000 of one plant or whatever. They're trying to min-max their life. But for the most part, nobody is using the system. Okay, now moving on to my final point here, which is a kind of a gamer point. A gamer problem I have with Genshin Impact as kind of a whole and how it's behaved in a sense. And now there a few. Now one thing I will say, and I watched this in an erotic walrus video, and I kind of agreed with 100% with what he said, that Genshin Impact is a gacha game. If you think it's any more than a gacha game, you're wrong. It's 100% a pure gacha game. Every aspect of it is a gacha game. The part where it fooled a lot of people was with the mention of an open world gacha game. In terms of innovation, that's where it's won. Where Genshin Impact has won in terms of innovation, innovating an open world gacha game. Because from my knowledge, the most we've seen in terms of gacha games expansion prior to Genshin Impact was a hub-based, kind of arena-based gacha game. Something like Honkai Impact, again by MiHoYo. But Genshin Impact innovated, and it fooled a large percentage of people because they thought they would get something like an RPG, where there's constant patching, constant balancing, constant updates, constant everything, with kind of impactful changes to the game, and boy were we wrong. Genshin Impact is pretty much the most gacha you can get, you know, everything from its killing enemies, to rolling for artifacts, to killing bosses, everything, it has a chance, everything is a percentage. The whole game could be pretty much depicted in images of percentages, 50% this, 20% that. That is the game as a whole. And that's pretty much one of the biggest problems when you don't have major patching, when nothing is changing, nothing is ever changing, everything is staying the same, and we have no certainty on certain things, that people start to lose interest or start to become a bit skeptical, like I have over the past couple of days. And this is also in relation to the recent anniversary rewards announcement on the Hoyo Labs by MiHoYo themselves, where MiHoYo kind of came out and said that the rewards you're getting are pretty much redundant. There was like 100,000 Mora kind of reward or something like that. I didn't quite have a look at it. I just saw a bunch of videos of people being mad about it. Rightfully so, obviously, but it's like 100,000 Mora, or you can win 100 Primos, which is not even one roll. MiHoYo is just being stingy, and you can just tell that this is the gacha mentality. They're just trying to milk them as much money out of you as they can. And whilst, you know, in a kind of a specific sense, that's fine, because that's what we were expected a gacha game. When you're trying to be constantly successful, that's not really gonna roll, that's not really gonna work, but that's besides the point. MiHoYo is essentially created a Genshin Impact, which is a gacha game, but they have this RPG open world element, which if they built upon strictly like most RPGs or MMORPGs, I know Genshin Impact isn't an MMO, but if they built upon that RPG aspect of constantly patching things that are broken, constantly patching things that are kind of underpowered or don't work properly, if they constantly did that, let's say a 2-week or a 3-week patch, then by all means they could grow exponentially very easily, because there are so many things in the game that just don't work. Amber has been in the game since launch. It's been a year, she hasn't gotten a single change. Zhongli was out for 2 days, and people complained about a buff, and he got a buff. Like, the weird kind of mentality of buffing and changing things that MiHoYo has is weird. Because by all means, Amber should have gotten a buff the day that she was released, because she was pretty much hot garbage. But she didn't. But Zhongli, 3 weeks after his release, gets a buff to his whole kit, and now he's pretty much has a 95+% pick rate in Spiral Abyss. Why? Why is this a thing? Just patch your game. Just reward your players with something. Just give the players a reason to come back to the game that isn't the gambling addiction. I don't know. I really, it's not going to sway my playtime of Genshin Impact. I still like the game in terms of a story aspect. My sole reasons for playing Genshin Impact at this point is because of the story. I like the character design, and that's pretty much it. I'm not really playing for anything else specifically. Probably just wanting all the Archons as well. That would be kind of cool. But I don't know. Like, yeah, I really don't know. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. This has been really unscripted. Uh, I'd love to hear what you guys have to think about this. Like it's just your thoughts. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you guys have to say about this whole Mihoyo kind of the spiral of Mihoyo, the fall of Mihoyo, or Genshin Impact. Maybe not even Mihoyo as a thing, but Genshin Impact. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment them down below. Also, hit that like button, share this video with a friend, consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, and have an amazing day, guys. I'll see you all in the next one, and peace out.